Rain hammered against the cracked windshield as Marcus Williams sat behind the wheel of his rideshare sedan, watching the neon glow of the city blur through streams of water. It was nearly midnight, and the streets of downtown were emptying fast. His phone buzzed with a new ride request. Pickup location: St. Mary's Memorial Hospital. Drop off: Riverside Cemetery, 15 miles outside the city. Marcus hesitated. Cemetery runs at midnight weren't exactly common, but money was money, and his daughter's tuition payment was due in 3 days. He accepted the ride and pulled out into the rain-soaked streets, his tires hissing against the wet asphalt. When he arrived at the hospital's main entrance, a woman stood alone under the flickering overhang light. She looked to be in her late 60s, wearing a simple brown coat that had seen better years. Her silver hair was pulled back neatly, and she clutched a small bouquet of white lilies against her chest. Her eyes were distant, lost somewhere between memory and reality. Marcus rolled down his window. "Ride for Catherine?" The woman nodded silently and climbed into the back seat, moving with the careful slowness of someone carrying invisible weight. As she settled in, Marcus caught a glimpse of her face in the rearview mirror. Tears traced quiet paths down her weathered cheeks, but she didn't make a sound. She simply stared out the window as the city lights began to fade behind them. "Rough night?" Marcus asked gently, trying to break the heavy silence that filled the car. Catherine's voice was soft, barely audible over the rain. "Every year on this night I visit my son. Today marks 10 years since he passed." Marcus felt his chest tighten. He'd picked up countless passengers, heard hundreds of stories, but something about this woman's quiet grief struck him differently. "I'm sorry for your loss," he said, and he meant it. "He was only 28. Catherine continued, her gaze never leaving the window. "Died in a car accident on a night just like this. Rain, darkness, one moment of distraction. That's all it took to change everything forever." They drove in silence for a while, the only sounds the rhythmic sweep of the windshield wipers and the soft patter of rain. Marcus wanted to say something comforting, but words felt inadequate against the enormity of a mother's grief. As they approached the cemetery gates, Catherine spoke again. "His name was Daniel. He was a teacher. Elementary school. The kids loved him." A small, sad smile crossed her face. "He always said he wanted to make the world a little brighter, one child at a time." Marcus pulled through the iron gates and navigated the narrow cemetery roads, following Catherine's quiet directions. Finally, they stopped near a section of newer headstones, their marble surfaces gleaming wet in the headlights. "This is it," Catherine said softly. She reached for the door handle, then paused. "The ride is already paid for," she said, turning to look at Marcus directly for the first time. "You don't need to wait. Just, when you check your app you'll see." Marcus frowned, confused. "Ma'am, I don't understand." But Catherine was already stepping out into the rain, pulling her coat tight around her shoulders. She walked toward a headstone about 20 feet away, the white lilies bright against the darkness. Marcus watched as she knelt down, placed the flowers gently at the base of the stone, and bowed her head. Something about her words nagged at him. He pulled out his phone and opened the rideshare app, scrolling to the current trip details. His eyes widened as he read the payment information. Ride paid by Daniel Williams. Payment method, autopay account. Account created, 2014. Marcus's hands began to tremble. That name. Daniel Williams. He looked at the date the account was created, then counted backward. 10 years ago. The same night Catherine said her son died. This was impossible. He stepped out of the car, rain immediately soaking through his jacket. "Ma'am! Catherine!" he called out, walking toward her. She looked up from where she knelt, rain mixing with tears on her face. "This account," Marcus said, holding up his phone, his voice shaking. "It says Daniel Williams. It says it was created 10 years ago, and it's been active ever since. How is that possible?" Catherine's expression shifted, surprise giving way to something that looked almost like relief. She rose slowly, steadying herself against the headstone. "You can see it," she whispered. You can actually see it. See what? I don't understand. Catherine stepped closer, her eyes searching Marcus's face. Every year on this night I try to come here. But I live on a fixed income, and I don't drive anymore. For 9 years I couldn't afford a ride. I'd take 2 buses and walk the last 3 miles in the dark. She paused, her voice breaking. But last year, something changed. When I opened the rideshare app, there was an account already logged in. Daniel's account? With an active payment method I'd never seen before. Marcus felt his skin prickle, despite the cold rain. It only works on this night, Catherine continued. Only for this ride. I've tried other times, other days. The account doesn't exist. But on the anniversary of his death somehow, it appears. And the ride is always paid for. Marcus stared at the phone in his hand, then at the headstone behind Catherine. In the dim light, he could just make out the inscription. Daniel Marcus Williams. 1986 to 2015. A light in dark places. His middle name. Daniel's middle name was Marcus. Every driver tells me the same thing, Catherine said quietly. They check their phones, they see the account, and they realize something impossible is happening. Most of them drive away quickly after. A few stay to listen. But you're the first to ask questions. Marcus didn't know what to say. He didn't believe in ghosts, in supernatural interventions, in any of it. And yet, here he was, standing in a cemetery at midnight, staring at proof that challenged everything he thought he understood about the world. Why me? He finally asked. Why do you think I can see this? Catherine smiled, a real smile this time, small but genuine. Maybe because you needed to. Maybe because there's something Daniel wants you to know. What could a man I never met possibly want me to know? That love doesn't end, Catherine said simply. That the people we lose never truly leave us. That sometimes, in ways we can't explain and don't need to understand, they find ways to take care of us still. To remind us we're not alone. Marcus felt his eyes burning, and he realized he was crying. He thought of his own daughter, of how hard he'd been working, of the fear that he wouldn't be enough, couldn't provide enough, couldn't protect her from all the harsh realities of the world. Daniel always took care of people, Catherine said softly. Even now, he's making sure his mother can visit him. Making sure drivers like you get paid for their time and kindness. Making sure, in his own way, that light still spreads in dark places. They stood together in the rain for a long moment, 2 strangers connected by something neither could fully explain. Finally, Marcus spoke. Would you like me to wait? To drive you home? Catherine shook her head. I called my neighbor before I left. She'll pick me up in an hour. I like to stay a while, talk to him, tell him about the year. Marcus nodded. He walked back to his car, then turned one last time. Catherine? Thank you for sharing this with me. Thank you for listening, she replied. And Marcus? Check your account again tomorrow. I think you'll find Daniel took care of more than just tonight's ride. As Marcus drove away, he glanced at his phone one more time. The trip details were already fading, the account name flickering like a dying light. By the time he reached the main road, the payment information had changed to show Anonymous Donor Charitable Fund. But in his bank account the next morning, Marcus would find an unexpected deposit. Exactly enough to cover his daughter's tuition, with a memo that simply read, "For being a light in dark places." And he would remember that rainy midnight drive, the grieving mother in the brown coat, and the impossible account of a son who, even in death, had found a way to keep his promise to make the world a little brighter, one person at a time. If this story moved you, remember that kindness transcends even the boundaries we think are permanent. Like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner, where we believe that love, in all its mysterious forms, is the most powerful force in the universe. What would you do if you discovered proof that love never truly ends? Share your thoughts in the comments below.